Hey, all you life takers and heartbreakers out there, Dadbot Actual back with the Ronin training. And today I'm going to do a video that I didn't think I had to do, nor did I want to do. But after several students have showed up to some of our classes with extremely dirty weapons that have caused malfunctions, they slow down our process, they interrupt training. It's a terrible thing. We're going to go over how to properly clean your rifle. And today, we did some long-range work not too long ago. We are going to be cleaning our Big Bertha, our big girl, our 308. This is a Wilson Combat WC-10 chambered in 7.62 or 308 for the civilian side of things. This is my long-range reach out and tickle someone setup. We're going to go ahead and go through these steps to clean this rifle. Now, there's going to be a little twist on things. Cleaning a rifle, cleaning weapons is boring. No one likes to do it. At the end of the day, everyone gets home, it gets put off, and that's how weapons end up not getting clean. So today, we're going to try to make things a little special. We're going to speed up this process a little bit by me going through said process as fast as I possibly can, because we're going to put a spin on things. We're going to do the Paqui one chip challenge today. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Paqui one chip challenge, this literally says, this chip will destroy you. The hottest known chip on the planet, and we're going to eat this, and then we're going to go through the steps on cleaning this rifle. So this should be interesting, and you guys are going to come along for the ride with me. So let's get to it. Before we get to eating and burning, I want to go over some of the stuff. We've got our rifle, and again, here at the Ronin training, what do we talk about every single time? Safety, safety, safety. So for you that are following along, there's no magazine in this rifle. We're going to do a chamber check. That chamber is clear. This is a safe weapon, and we can proceed. Let's get down to it. Paqui, one chip challenge, cleaning the Big Bertha, the 308. Here we go. We're gonna break this box open. Oh, this is cool. It's got some terrible literature on the inside here with scorpions and burning and fire, so that looks terrible. This is what we use to celebrate at the end here. Our chip that's neatly wrapped. I gotta tell you, their packaging is pretty cool. Face the Reaper. Let's get down to it, shall we? Now, students coming into my course, I expect you to be prepared when you show up. That is, the proper equipment, the proper ammunition, the proper mindset, and having your tools clean. You take care of your tool, it will take care of you. And that's true with power tools, that's true with fishing gear, that's true with your car, and it's also extremely true with firearms. So first things first, we'll start with this. We've already gone through and inspected the firearm to make sure it's safe. The taste on this is absolutely horrible. Once we get through this, we'll get straight into cleaning. Sorry, it's in a few pieces. Okay. We're chewing. Right off the bat, I can tell you, this was a terrible idea. This is by far the hottest thing I've ever eaten. Real quick before we go so I can talk. Hit a water. Now, what we're gonna do, because this is so hot, we're gonna start by disassembling the upper receiver from the lower receiver. Excuse me again. It's a carbine, so it's like any other carbine. We're gonna use the push pins here. Jesus H. Christ. Sometimes the push pins can get stuck. So you use your brush on the front push pin. God damn it. Give it a good tap. And your rear push pin. Give it a good tap. Once those push pins are tapped, you should be able to separate the upper and lower receiver. Sorry guys, this was a terrible idea and I really wish I didn't do it. upper and lower receiver has now been separated. I'm gathering my thoughts. We'll set the upper receiver aside and we'll focus on the lower receiver because it's easy. A little more water. The water helps lube the pipes and make it easier for me to talk to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to talk. Use your finger to hold your hammer and not let it slam forward. Set her down. One of the best cleaning products out there, old school, CLP, Clean Lube Protect. There's lots of stuff on the market. I stick with what I know and what I used for a long time. You got your cleaning brush. It's got the large side like a toothbrush and the small side for really getting in there for detail. We're gonna use, I like to run my weapons not wet, but pretty moist. I know some people say, oh, well, if it's too wet, it can gather debris and cause malfunctions. I've never had an issue, so I run them wet. Jesus Christ, my head's on fire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some oil on the cleaning brush here, just like this. If you guys can get that at home. And you're gonna wanna hit the whole trigger mechanism of this system. We're gonna hit the hammer here, down into the actual trigger mechanism itself. And it's super important because there's a lot of small moving parts. We'll reset our hammer. We'll get up underneath here in our, whoops, sorry about that. Trying to concentrate. Up underneath here on our bolt release. We'll give it a good scrub. Get the face in the hammer as best we can. Again, try not to let it slam forward. I'm trying to concentrate, you guys. A little difficult. It's super easy. I like to take my CLP and just give a drop or two into the springs inside the trigger assembly and just let that sit in there. And it'll work fantastic. Keep it running to where you won't have any issues. That's pretty much it as far as your trigger assembly goes. Now, you've got your buffer spring and buffer inside your buttstock. Easy way to test that is to run a finger on it. If there's not a lot of residue, you're usually pretty good and don't really have to clean it. So for the purposes of getting a little through this faster, we're not going to clean it. Your trigger mechanism is looking pretty good. Take a rag and gently wipe it off, like so. That will pick away all of the outside leftover residue in the trigger assembly. Your magwell sometimes will gather carbon. Another way to test that is with your fingers. And if there does seem to be carbon, just a simple wipe down in the magwell. Again, that's why I chose the lower receiver first. It's much easier to do. We're pretty much done. I'm gonna set that aside. Gonna have another hit of water. Now, get to the upper receiver, the big one, the money maker, where all the parts are. I gotta tell you, drooling water out of my mouth after eating that chip has helped a bit, but it has spread the fire to my chest area, which they refer to the décolleté, as I like to say, my breasticles. And I gotta tell you, My titties are burning. So now I went from my head on fire to now I got hot tatas. This chip is no joke. Upper receiver. Get a good hold of your charging handle and give it a gentle tug. Out comes your bolt carrier group. Your charging handle can be removed as well. I am definitely going to need some more water to be able to get through this video. So, where was I? We're going to set our charging handle and our bolt carrier aside because those are usually the dirtiest, and we'll get those through those last. This was the stupidest idea in the history of stupid ideas. We're going to work our upper receiver. CLP once again on our brush. Get it good and in there. And we are going to hit the inside of our chamber, starting with the actual chamber itself. Get your brush in there and give it a good rub, and you're just going to hit all throughout that chamber. Into the gas tube on the inside, all along the inside feed ramp for the charging handle, into the receiver where the bolt carrier groups go. Bolt carrier group goes, and just give it an all-around good lube job. Super simple like that. If you want to, you can finish up by hitting the inside of your ejection port cover and the spring that helps open and close it. Excuse me. The hand I touched the chip with, I just touched my face, and now my face is melting right off my face. Holy shit, I want to die. Pardon the expletives. Your upper receiver, your chamber's pretty much set, super easy. Now, you've got to do what you call punch your bore, which is the barrel itself. I highly recommend, if you don't have one of these, a bore snake. This one is made by, I can't see straight, Hops number 9. Bore snakes work much better than traditional cleaning rods, and they're easier to store and easier to use. Simply pop it open, hang on to your cap because you're going to use that. Your bore snake is simply a brass attachment at the end for weight, basically like a 550 cord type string. And the actual pull through is embedded with copper teeth, if you will, that help go through the barrel and clear out all the fouling. Now, one of the best ways to do this is to tilt your upper receiver at an angle. I like to give it a drop or two of oil, CLP, into the barrel. Start with your brass tip. The brass tip simply gets dropped into the chamber, down into your barrel, and fed through like so until it comes out of the muzzle. Now, once that's done, excuse me a second. Once that's done, again, that cap I told you to hang on to, you'll notice this little hole and this little divot here. That is to put the brass tip through and lock it into place so that you can now use this cap to pull the rest of the bore snake through your barrel, like so. If you guys can get a shot of that, bore snake will cruise right through the barrel, taking out any fouling, any carbon, any leftover gunpowder, or anything that's in there that didn't get burned off. So a lot of times one run through will work for you. In this instance, in interest of saving time, we'll run it through one time. And your barrel is usually clean. Easiest way to tell is to get a good shot through your barrel. That is gorgeous. It's nothing but lands and grooves. It looks like the beginning of a James Bond movie where it shows James Bond inside a barrel, in case you guys didn't know that. Your muzzle, this happened to be a massive muzzle brake, is another area that's going to get super fouled with carbon. So we're going to use our, oh God, our, excuse me, one sec. We're going to use our cleaning brush to hit our muzzle brake and give that a really good scrubbing, because a whole lot of carbon will build up on that. Try to get into the actual chambers of said muzzle brake. And once you do, obviously this is covered in oil, just a rag, and lightly wipe that off, and that will take good care of it. As so, I'm going to go ahead and just wipe down the chamber just a little bit, because it's super oily. I squeeze a little too hard because I'm having trouble with my manual dexterity because I'm on fire. I'm going to set our upper receiver aside. Charging handle, pretty much the simplest part. Just give it a good scrub, just enough to wipe down all the carbon or anything that gets on there. Your charging handle clasp, release, what have you. I'm trying to think of the English language. Give it a good scrub. Charging handle's done. Super simple as it gets. Now, I'm going to lube up our cleaning brush a little bit. And now we're going to do the bolt carrier group. And it's just like a traditional AR. You've got your bolt carrier group as itself, your bolt carrier housing. This is actually your bolt retention pin, and inside your firing pin. So we have got to press out our bolt, excuse me, our firing pin retention cotter pin on the inside there. I don't know if I have something small enough to get in there. I may have done an oopsie to get that bad boy out of there. See if I can get a small folding knife out of the top drawer of my cleaning table. Now, being a 308, obviously this bolt carrier group is significantly larger than the 5.56 model, significantly heavier. Believe it or not, a really good portion of the weight on a 308 system, this is a semi-automatic gas system, is your bolt carrier group, because it's got to be able to handle the tremendous recoil and chamber pressure of that 308 round. Here we go. Benchmade coming in to save the day. We're going to give this a little tap, if you will, to get our retention pin out of there and see how it's popped out a little bit. Now, this one's superbly tight, so I'm going to gently use the blade of my Benchmade to try to get this out. And it doesn't seem to want to cooperate today, so we are going to give it a little drop of oil, like so. Try to push it through again. Give it another little drop of oil in there. You know, lube, gentlemen, pay attention. Lube goes a long way. We're going to work it back and forth. Now, these are issues you're going to run into while you're cleaning your rifle and trying not to throw up. Solid push or two after running the oil through should give me what I need to get this puppy out of there. And guess what? It absolutely did. We've got our firing pin. Once we get our firing pin, we're going to get our bolt retention pin in here, like so, and then our bolt will come free. I'm going to use my cleaning towel to wipe a tremendous amount of snot coming out of my nose. And our bolt carrier is basically disassembled. This is where you really want to pay attention to things. Now, your bolt carrier group, as I said, I like to run pretty moist. So I'll get it really, 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 really wet. And then I'll run over it gently with a rag so it stays super wet and super lubricated. Get in there with those tiny gas rings. You guys can see some of the carbon coming off. There we go. So our actual bolt is done. Our bolt retention pin wiping up pretty good. So there's two out of the 4. Your firing pin, always want to have nice and lubricated, like so. We'll take a moment to refresh ourselves. There we go. And now the actual bolt carrier group, the body, the housing. I really want that moist because that is your major moving part inside your weapon system, the back and forth, back and forth. So we're gonna lube that up good, just like so. All your nooks, crannies, and holes. On a side note, I am absolutely convinced that I will be rectally bleeding later when this chip decides to come back out and burn me for a second time. Anyone deciding to do the Paqui 1 chip challenge, I highly suggest you clear your schedule for the day and make sure you have access to adequate restroom facilities when you evacuate your bowels at Mach 7. Now, there we go. Our bolt carrier group is good and wet and moist. I like to reassemble while it's wet. Your bolt sets inside the carrier group. You want to line up the hole inside your bolt so that you can put your retention pin in there, like so. Give it a little twist. And finally, the last piece is your firing pin that you can simply drop in. And again, Benchmade. Give her a good tap. Let's see if I can get it to line up. This is hard to do when you can't see straight. All right. And just like so, your firing pin drops in place. You can push your firing pin retention pin back in, and now your bolt carrier group is together and functioning. A simple wipe down with the rag, gently. You don't want to wipe off all the good CLP that you put on there. You want to keep it moist, not wet. How I like to walk around on a daily basis. And now you're ready to reassemble your upper receiver with your bolt carrier group. Our upper receiver, our charging handle rests inside. Bolt carrier group, it's ready to make that slide in. Once they're lined up, give them a tap, and they're home free. There we go. This weapon system has been effectively field expediently cleaned. Last thing in place is to place our lower receiver back together with our upper receiver via our push pins. Set her up on an angle here. See if we can get our push pins to agree with us today. Again, sometimes it's difficult when you can't see anything because your face is burning off your face. This particular weapon system by Wilson Combat, as I mentioned, has very tight tolerances, being a precision semi-automatic gas-operated system. So you really got to make sure those parts fit. I like to take a rag and give it one more wipe down to get all the excess oil, and in this case, snot, drool, tears of regret, and bad decisions off the weapons platform. Hit both sides. Oh God. As so. A good wipe down. It helps with the aesthetics to make it look good. And it gets the oil off the outside of it. It really helps it work. Now, as I always say, once you reassemble a weapon, you want to do a functions check. Weapon on fire. Simulate chambering around and hear that magical click. functions check complete. This weapon will function the next time I take it out on the range, meaning I've reassembled it correctly. I have lubricated it correctly. And it is ready to be stored until our next adventure. So guys, gals, when you decide to come out to one of our outstandingly, fantastically, superbly developed courses on handgun, rifle, shotgun tactics, clean your weapons, take care of your gear so your gear takes care of you. I will see you all out on the range. Don't forget to check us out at www.theronintraining.com. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.